Hey everybody, this is Greg Gossett from Gossett Trading and Mentoring Live, and today is Tuesday, March 16th, 2021. We're in the final hour of the trading day. The final hour is my favorite time to make my buying and selling decisions based upon what the large financial institutions are doing in that last hour, and in particular, the last few minutes. I believe, in my opinion anyway, that following what the large financial institutions do with the day provides an edge in your trading. So thank you all for coming today. It's been kind of a crazy day today. Currently, the Dow is down 136 points, down 0.42%. The NASDAQ, which was up strongly earlier, is down 27 points now. So a big reversal from green to red, down about 0.25%, and the S&P is down 11 points, down 0.28%. So it has been kind of a nasty reversal day here on the market. So I hope everyone's staying safe out there. Hope you're adhering to your stops, your emergency stops, positioning size correctly, because we definitely get these kind of days. So, all right, here's the plan for today. First of all, we are going to run the U.S. legal disclaimer. Secondly, we're going to come back, take a look at my current positions, talk about when I bought them, why I bought them, and how I'm going to manage them going forward. I did have 3 day trades today that I will share with you. That worked out pretty well, although I did have one loser, but I'll share the losers and the winners with you. After that, my current students have some positions up, or my current and past students have some positions up on the board. We're going to go through each one of those, and we're going to see how those are doing and how they're managing those trades. After that, I'm going to talk a little bit about trader psychology. We mainly talk about technicals, entries, exits in this podcast, but I like to talk about trader psychology too, because it's a small part of the podcast, but it's the biggest part. It's the biggest skill in trading that you need to learn. It's the most important part, even though it's just a small part of this podcast. So I like to touch on that. Hopefully by touching on that every day, just one day, I might say just something the correct way, and you'll have that aha moment, and you'll realize how important it is. After that, I have gone down through my watch list. I have gone down through the results of Kamal's scanner. I have 3 requirements before I make any trade. 1, I have to have a confluence or a combination of indicators lining up on multiple time frames. Number 2, which is extremely important, there needs to be a good risk to reward ratio. For the math to work out for profitable trading, you have to be able to risk less than you can potentially make. That's called asymmetrical risk to reward. You have to be able to make more to the upside than you're losing to the downside. That way you don't even have to win 50% of the time to still make money. And I've noticed, with new traders, I don't really look at risk to reward very closely. That, in my opinion, some of them do, but the majority of them don't. And hopefully with this podcast here and me mentioning it every day, it will seep in as far as how important it is. So, if you have a great setup, but the risk to reward ratio is, if it's chasey, like Kamal and I call it, if it's chasey, if it's too far away from the entry, maybe pass on the trade, look for a better trade that has a better risk to reward. And then number 3, a day like today is a good reminder. The market can reverse at any second. You do not want to be too highly correlated in any one trade. You don't want to be too, you don't want to have too much account heat, or in other words, you don't want to have too much of the percentage of your capital at risk at any one time. You need to position size for volatility, you need to adhere to your stops, but take a second before you place that trade. Make sure, do I really need this trade? Do I really, really need this trade? Is it a clean trade? Do I know where my emergency stop is? Do I know where I'm getting out? Do I know where my profit targets are? Do I know where my overhead resistance is? It's very, very important. You have to have a trade plan. Extremely important. You need to have a plan every time you place a trade. A complete plan, not, I'll see how it goes. Right? So I do have some potential end-of-day candidates. We'll go through them one by one. I will break them down. I'll look at multiple time frames. I'll look for a confluence or combination of indicators. I will look for risk to reward. I will keep in mind current positions and whether I need more correlated positions or not. Maybe I have a great trade, but I won't take it because I already have something. See what I mean? So I'll try to narrow it down to the very, very best one at the end of the day. And if I find one, I will place the trade before the close. And then after the market closes, if you have any questions for me, if you would like me to look at any stock symbols, please feel free, go ahead, put them in the chat, and I will do my best to answer your questions and my best to give you my opinion on the ticker symbols that you select. And then lastly, if any of my students that have positions up on the board, if you have any new positions that you're adding today, or you have any positions that you are taking off, if you could please wait till the end of the day so that I'm done teaching, I'm done trading, pressure is off, and then we'll get to it and take care of it. Okay, so I'm going to run the US legal disclaimer. Hang tight. I'll be back in about 40 seconds. This video or live broadcast, like all instructional materials produced by Gossett Trading and Mentoring LLC, is created and published for informational and educational purposes only. Please carefully read and/or listen to the U.S. government required disclaimer before watching this video or live stream broadcast. The video link and disclaimer text are located in the description section of this video or live broadcast, here and here. Thank you so much. All right, well, let me make sure my mic's on. Yes. Good to see you, David. David says, hello, Gregorian traders. Hello, David. I always laugh when I see that. It's funny, but thank you for that. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Lava is here. Hello, everyone. Good to see you, Lava. Hope you are doing well. Dan is here. Hi, Greg and the Gossett Familia. Hello, Dan. Nice to see you. Miko25 is here. Good to see you, Miko. Jonathan D. Nice to see you, Jonathan. Hi, Greg and group. Frank is here. Hello, Greg and group. Hello, Frank. Thank you for everything that you do for this channel, Frank, with your poems. Really appreciate it. Morgs is here. Hi, Morgs from South Africa. Hope you're having a good evening. Gary says, hello, Greg and group. Glad to be back after a few days. Yes, nice to have you back. Hope you had a good trip or whatever you did. Johan is here. Nice to see you, Johan. Hope you're having a nice evening in Hong Kong. And Steve Burns is here. Always an honor and a privilege to have you here, Steve. You know I mean that. Everyone else in here, I'm sure feels the same way. And Steve says, hello, Gregorian traders. That's funny, right? But it's fun, right? It's a compliment, I think. But anyway, all right. Well, interesting day today. Really interesting day today. I'll tell you what. Let's get started. Facebook. I did buy Facebook back on the 12th of March. We had a 520 crossover. Did not chase it on the initial crossover, but the next day we pulled back. The crossover was still in place. We had a lot of rejections. We rejected the 50-day moving average. We rejected the 50 RSI. We rejected the 50 EMA. We rejected the 10. We rejected the 20, having all this support below us. And most importantly, the 520 crossover was still in place when I took the trade. Cherry on top, we were above the MACD was positive, so I did buy this here at 268.32. Yesterday was a nice big day up, took a couple profit targets, and today Facebook is up 2.36%, and I did hit two profit targets, one at 277.90, one at 280. What was that? 282.05. Currently up 2.36% today and up 4.26% on the trade. So pretty good considering. Merck. All right, Gary and I did buy Merck back here on the 4th of March at 72.08. Big picture on this, we had a double bottom with the bullish divergence, meaning we had a low with deep momentum bars. We rallied into some positive momentum bars. We made a lower low, but even though we were lower than here, the MACD bars were very shallow, indicating a lack of downward momentum. When that happens, that was the big picture, but I still needed a trigger. My trigger was an under 30, over 30 on the trade. I bought it here at 72. Gary and I bought it here at 72.08. Went up the next day, took some profits. Next day, also took a bunch of profit targets. It did reject the 50 RSI. I sold half. Then we moved sideways for about 4 days. Yesterday, we had a big, strong up day, took some more profits. Hit another profit target today at 76.89. So currently we have rejected the 50-day moving average, the downward sloping 50-day moving average. So I rejected the 50 RSI. If I reject the 50-day moving average as well, that's 2 of 3 requirements that I have to exit the trade. So if this does close below the 50 today, I will go ahead, lock in profits on the other half. But this has been a really good trade, and it's a great example of a double bottom with the bullish divergence with a legitimate trigger, which is an under 30, over 30. This one's up almost 6% on from entry to current price. QS, well, Lilia and I did take the 520 cross on Quantum QS back on the 11th. We bought at 58.41. Next day didn't do much. Next day went way up. 4 or 5%, I can't remember. Did hit some profit targets, luckily. Took some off at profitable levels. Today we have a big reversal bar. This is a V2 to the downside. Day 1, day 2 goes above day 1, day 3. Right now is below the close of day 1. The 520 crossover is still in place, slightly down on the trade. It's down 7.55% today, but only slightly down on the trade because had such a big move up yesterday. But my inclination is I'm going to keep this. I still have I still have some support here. I have some support of the 50 RSI. I have support of the moving averages. MACD is still green and just barely down on the trade. So my inclination on this is to go ahead and keep this trade. SPY. Well, fortunately, I did have a nice, decent little SPY trade. Nothing to write home about, but positive anyway. I do buy the SPY every day at the close. I hold it overnight. I sell it first thing the next morning. Yesterday, I bought it at 396.41. Sold it at 397.06. So better than a kick in the butt, right? So I sold at the open. It is definitely lower than that now. But as per usual, I will buy the S&P right at the close with a market on close order. I will hold it overnight. Take that overnight risk, sell it first thing to next morning, and we'll see what happens. But it's been a great month for the overnight SPY trade. Square. Steve, Frank, and I did buy Square using the 1050 EMA crossover back on the 12th. I got in at 241.85. Yesterday started out nicely, did hit a profit target. That's why I like to take profit targets, because if you get a big reversal day today, at least I sold some at profitable levels. It mitigates my loss to the downside. It is down 2.87% today. The 10, 237.64, is still above the, yes. Wait a minute. Oh. Yeah. The 10, 237.67 is still above the 50 of 233.95. So I will be keeping this. I like that it came down, touched the support below it. So I will be keeping this one. And it's still up on the trade, actually, right? Because we bought it at 241.85. It's 244.04. So it did have a bit of a comeback here, but still profitable on the trade. Lastly, TLT. My gosh, I don't know if you've been following this. I did buy TLT yesterday with Kamal, double bottom, bullish divergence. Here's a low, deep MACD bars, rally into green MACD bars, just like on Merck. Made a lower low, hardly any negative MACD bars, but I needed a trigger. My trigger was yesterday, when the previous day we went under 30 RSI and then closed above 30 RSI. My intraday stop on this is a end of day stop on this is a 30 RSI. Currently it is holding the 30, so as long as it holds the 30, I will keep this. I do like that we came back down, tested the negative third ATR channel below me, or below the price, and bounced off. So it is holding the negative third ATR channel, and it is holding the 30 RSI, even though I am down on the trade. Let me show you this. I don't know what happened in the middle of the day, but it was looking pretty grim. And then kapow, boom, Kamal, I don't know if you saw this. I was like, oh my gosh, thank heaven. And that's a big, strong move. I could imagine that it would backfill a little bit, but no, it gave it almost all the way back. That was just torturous, but is moving up a little bit there today. Okay, let me share my day trades with you today. I had quite a few, and I have one on at the moment, as a matter of fact. Here is Apple. I started off with the short on Apple. People always ask me, you know, how do you short? My favorite short really is having a double top with a bearish divergence. Here's a high, strong MACD bars. We pull back to red. We make a higher high with no green MACD bars. That is a double top with a bearish divergence. I don't short that first move down. I like to short a lower high after the double top with the bearish divergence. This was my entry here. See how this V1, here's day one, day two, we go above day one, and then I shorted right when we got to the close of the previous bar, but it came from a double top with the bearish divergence, and then I shorted the first lower high. This is lower than here, and it was a great entry. I got in at 126.76. I took some profits at 126.51. I took some profits at 126.23. I took some profits at 125.94, and I exited at 125.71 because we bounced off the negative third ATR channel, and it was a great move. So again, shorted at 126.76, out of some at 126.51, some at 126.23, 125.94, and 125.71. So that was a really, really good short position there. I didn't have a day trade yesterday. That was a little weird. VIX. I did have a trade on VIX. It was a losing trade, however. We had sideways motion in V2. MACD was positive. I liked it. I bought it here at 1289. Initially started off the right way, and boom, then just collapsed. My stop was a close below halfway the washout bar. So I got in at 1289, and I had to get out at 1283. So I lost 6 cents on the trade, but that's okay. You can't win them all. The most important thing is to keep those losses small. All right, Qs. I have one completed trade on the Qs, and I have one current trade open at the moment. We came down, we tested the 50 SMA, we bounced up. I wanted to see if we could get another test, a higher low test of that 50. Moving averages are kind of like trend lines sometimes. You'll break a trend line, you'll go up. A lot of times you'll back test that trend line. That's exactly what happened. I decided to buy it here with the rejection of the 50 and the V1. I got in at 322.33. 2 bars later, had a nice up bar, got out at 322.83, continued up. This bar, we came back to my entry point. It had moved 1.5 ATRs from my entry. I didn't want to let a winner turn into a loss, so the gain on half the position was 322.33 up to 322.83, and the second half I exited for a scratch trade or a break-even trade. Okay, currently I am in a trade right now. Here are the Qs, under 30, over 30. I got in at, under 30, over 30, under the negative third, over the negative third. I got in at 319.63. Next bar, I was a little quick with it because it was such a strong downward move. I got out at 320.04, half the position. I took, I took another half of a position right here. I don't know exactly the number, but it was right about here. It was at the end of that bar. And so I have a quarter position left right now. So in at 319.63, out at 320.04, out at 320.43. Right now it's 320.77. I'll tell you what, I don't like having this trade on my mind, so I'm going to go ahead and just exit it right now. Okay. It may head up higher, but I don't like having it in the back of my head and having to manage it. And it's a nice trade, right? It was a really good trade. So those were my day trades today. Really good day trades. So I am definitely thankful for that. Okay. I've been jabbering a lot here. Frank has a poem for us. Let me paste this in here. We'll talk about it. Okay. The last hour of trading, we like to buy and sell as institutions come in before ringing the bell. We stretch our bows like the famed William Tell and aim for the apple before the sound of its bell? Knell? And aim for the apple before the sound of its bell. I'm going to go with bell, right? Let's read it again. That's great, Frank. The last hour of trading, we like to buy and sell as institutions come in before ringing the bell. That's totally true. We stretch our bows like the famed William Tell and the apple before the sound of its bell. Come on, you don't get that on the Joe Rogan podcast, right? You don't get Frank poems on Rogan. That's so good, Frank. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. So great. Kamal is here. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for everything that you do for this channel, Kamal. I really mean it. Dan says, Frank, cool. Dan says, I can't find a setup for MSTR. It seems to slam down, then slam up. Well, then don't force it, Dan. If you can't find the setup, don't force it. Timothy is here. Hey, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Hope you are doing well. Hopes everything is going well with trading. Yavar is here. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you, Yavar. Quad is here. Greetings, Greg and group. Happy Turbulent Trading Thursday. Yes, it is. Good to see you, Quad. Lova says, if QS closes below yesterday's low, will you sell it? No. Because it has not moved 1.5 ATRs from my entry, Lova. See this orange line up here? That is 1.5 ATRs from my entry. Once I get up there, then I go into trailing stop mode, and that's when a close below the previous day's low comes in for the way I trade. But it has not gotten there yet, so a close below the previous day's low doesn't mean anything for me at this moment. TLT popped during bond auction today. Also to note, there's a Fed meeting tomorrow. Yes, that is totally true, Sonny. Thank you for pointing that out. There is a Fed meeting tomorrow. Everyone's going to be looking at Jay Powell, what he's saying, and, it's all about the bond market right now. But yes, thank you very much, Sonny. And nice to see you. And thank you for that nice review you left on Udemy, my friend. I really appreciate that. Steve says, lots of bearish engulfing candles on the charts again today. Yeps, there are for sure. Gary said, knell, the sound of a bell, especially when rung solemnly for a death or funeral. Oh, Lord. Well, sometimes that's how it feels at the end of certain trading days, right? I figured that Frank did not misspell anything. I'm just not smart enough to know what it is. Mamal is here. Good to see you, Mamal. Hope you're doing well. eBay was way up for you. I'm watching that like a hawk because I know you're in that trade, and is down a little bit today, but it's holding pretty well, everything considered, I would say. Yeah. Okay. Did I sell my Qs too soon? I did. It's okay. It was a good trade, and I don't like having it on my mind, even though it's still on my mind, right? So, okay. What are we doing? Anybody have any idea? Uh, and and Karenda and Karangolu. Oh man, I'm really mispronouncing that. I apologize. But good to see you. Appreciate you being here. If there's anything I can help you with, please let me know. All right, let's take a look at your trades. PKI. Kamal bought PKI yesterday at 126.60 with a V2 and it closed above the 200-day moving average. It is currently 125.75. It's down a little bit, but it did test under the 200-day today and close back above. I assume that was Kamal's end of day stop. So glad to see that off the lows for you, Kamal. Still a little bit down on the trade, but well off of the lows. BYD. All right. This is kind of a crazy stock with these moves, but Paxton and Tracy bought BYD all the way back here at 47.38, and they have had a beautiful run. They sold here half at 55.70, 62.26 now. Is down 4% on the day now, but still nicely up on the trade, and I'm glad they took half when they took half, kind of lock in some of those. So way to go, Paxton, and way to go, Tracy. All right, we were just talking about Mamal and talking to Tim. Mamal and Timothy had a nice trade here at 53.30. They had a deep dip buy trade with rejection of the 200-day moving average, and it has moved up nicely. It's down a little, it's down a skosh today, but not too bad, and they are up 7.32%. Don't get that on the Joe Rogan Show either. Checkpoint. Kamal bought Checkpoint back here at 110.80. False breakout to the downside and a V1. Very, very nice. I don't know if Carlos is listening out there, but this is what I was teaching him last night, what a false breakout to the downside and a V1 combo looks like. Bought at 110.80. It's up 0.73% today. So it is up 6.39% through all this nonsense. Way to go, Kamal. Nice going. IWB. Steve bought IWB with the 530 EMA crossover. Steve bought at 223.19. It's currently 224.69. It is down a little on the day, but he is up nicely on the trade. Way to go, Steve. This is Frank. Frank bought NVAX back here at 135. It more than doubled, everybody. You heard me right. It more than doubled. He sold 90% up in this range. He decided to keep 10% trailer runner for fun, and it wasn't fun when it was going down, although it was only 10%, but we have had a nice rally off that low. It's up another 2.3%. So Frank's had a fantastic trade on that. BWA. Frank's bought BWA at 47.12. I think he sold half here about 49.68. It is down 3.2% today, but he is still nicely up on the trade. SCCO. All right. Lilia bought SCCO with a 520 cross at 75.47. Had a huge day the next day. I hope Lilia did hit some profit targets on that to reduce. Because it did pull all the way back. Carlos, if you are listening, this is an end of day stop for a crossover. The close of this price is now below the two moving averages that you took the trade. The 5 and the 20, you took the trade. It's closing below both the 5 and the 20. I would sell half. I would get out of the rest when the 5 actually closed under the 20. So I was looking for these last night while I was teaching. It was hard to find them. This is a perfect example of a 520 crossover closing below both the crossovers that you use to enter. That's when I sell half. I sell the other half when the 5 crosses below the 20. A, B, and B. Steve bought A, B, and B with the 520 crossover back on 311. Initially went up, down 3.61% today. So this is down on the day, and it is now down on the trade. GNRC. Steve bought GNRC with the 520 EMA crossover at 331.64. It is currently 326.23. It is down 3.48% today, and it is down on the trade as well. SSO. well off of its lows. This is a great trade that Steve had here with the 1030 EMA at 97.68. It is 101.70. It's down 20 cents today is all, but this has been a nice big trade for Steve so far. Entry to current price up about 4%. So congratulations, Steve. SPXL is triple leverage SPY. So Steve bought the triple leverage SPY at 80.45. It's 84.26. It is down a little bit today, but he is up 4.54% on this trade. Excellent. Shopify, Kamal bought Shopify at 10.86. It's currently 11.46. It is down 1.09% today, but Kamal is still up on the trade. Home Depot, okay, Gary sent me a message. He sold credit spreads expiring April 6th to 220s. It's 282. It's not even close. I think he got about 95% of the premium. So way to go there, Gary. I'll take that one off because I know you're out. Congratulations. And then last but not least, we have Snap. Steve bought Snap yesterday with a 520 crossover. He bought it at 63.87. It's currently 62.61, down 1.77% today, and so down on the day and then down on the trade. Okay. Okay. So listen, before we start looking at potential end of day trades, I like to talk about trader psychology. During this time of the day. I think it's helpful for people, or at least I hope it's helpful for people, right? But there's some really good trading channels out there on Facebook and Twitter. This is from Trading Proverbs, and I love this post. I love this post because this sums up my trading approach essentially. Taking advantage of the values created by emotional investors is the cornerstone of the Oakmark Fund's approach to investing. We try to buy from fearful or bored investors and sell to greedy investors who want excitement. Bill Nygren. Okay, what does this mean? When I studied one-on-one with Dr. Alexander Elder, he asked me, what is our job as traders? And I gave him an answer. He said, no, it's wrong. And he said, our job as traders is exactly what this says. We are there to buy from fearful traders, people that are depressed, people that just want out. Essentially, we're creating some liquidity for them, right? We want to buy from people that are fearful, that are just fed up. They just want to dump. That's our job to buy, especially with deep dip buys, right? But on the other hand, we want to sell to greedy investors who want excitement. I look at those as momentum players. I want to buy from people when they just want to dump their shares. I want to sell to people when they just have to buy the shares because of greed or excitement. That's why I like to buy near the negative third ATR channel, and I like to sell at the third ATR channel. So I hope this makes sense, but ask yourself, are you patient and are you waiting for the right place to buy from fearful or bored investors? Bored investors would be sideways motion, I would assume. Are you that kind of trader, or are you the greedy investor who wants to buy things high because you want fun and excitement? Right? Most new traders I know fall into the greedy investor who wants excitement, and most new traders lose money. So maybe you should do the opposite, right? Buy from fearful or bored investors and sell to greedy investors who want excitement. Their entire fund, the Oakmark Fund, which is a famous fund, is based upon this. So I hope this makes sense to you. Keep that in mind. We want to buy from fearful investors and sell to greedy investors. We don't want to be greedy investors, and we don't want to be fearful investors. So I thought this was a really great quote. Excuse me. All right. I have to check something at the door. Always happens right now. Give me about 30 seconds. I apologize. Talk amongst yourself. I'll be right back. All right, all right, all right. Okay. Steve says QQQ may have a 520 EMA crossover today with an ugly candle. Yes, that is definitely on my list, so we will be looking for that. You pronounced it correct. I am Encore. Gulu is my Roddy. Oh, nice. Your Rottweiler? Okay, I'm just gonna call you Encore if that's okay. I hope that's okay, and I appreciate you being here. Mamal says, if eBay continues to stay up, it will be my first winning trade after a few losers. Congratulations. I hope it does. Now, if I was trading this today, it has moved more than 1.5 ATRs from entry. So I wouldn't do anything with this until we get a close below the previous day's low. That's how I would trade it. Not telling you how to trade it, but I'm really glad to hear that. Steve says SWKS has a slight 520 crossover today. All right, let me write that down, Steve. Thank you. I always appreciate Steve giving me these crossovers because he's like the eagle eye with crossovers. So let's put that down on the list. SWKS. Don't tell me I'm having this problem. This is yesterday's bar. Gosh darn it. All right, let's give it a minute. Hopefully it will click into place there. Otherwise I can look on my emergency charts. Darn. Yeah, this is still showing yesterday's bar. Dang it. Okay. Let me take a look at current positions before I get motivated about taking any new positions, see if I have to do anything. Facebook's doing great, right? 520 crossover, hit 2 profit targets today, up 2.55%. No need to do anything with this. Merck, oh, looky here. Now we're back above the 50-day moving average. Had it rejected it today, I would have gotten out of the trade. But if it holds, and I won't do anything with it. QS, we talked about that. Looks like we might get a close below the previous day's low, like Leva asked, but again, it has not moved 1.5 ATRs from entry, so the close below the previous day's low does not matter to me in this context. Just barely slightly down on the trade. SPY has recovered. This is the overnight SPY trade. I'll be buying this today at the close, of course, selling it first thing the next morning. SPY is now green. How about that? Good. Square. 1050 EMA crossover is still in place, has not lost 50. MACD is positive. This all looks fine. And look at that. Pretty amazing. Look at that. Did we come back down and test the 30? Pretty close. People say technicals don't matter. Look what happened. Under 30, over 30, we came back down to test it. And we also tested the negative third ATR channel. Talk about a confluence there. So as long as it stays above 30, I will go ahead and keep. Carlos, buddy, good to see you. Good lesson last night. Hi, Greg and all. Yes, I am here. Thank you for pointing that out to me. Good. I'm glad you're there. And that was a good example. And what was that, by the way? That was Kamal's trade. Kamal, what was that trade? Okay, here we go. Checkpoint. Let's take a look. Yeah. So, Carlos, if you're still there, on this one anyway, this is a false breakout to the downside with a V1. Here's the V1. Yesterday's bar, we go below, back above. That's the V1. But in the same washout bar, we also tested the low of the range. So this is a false breakout to the downside with the V1. And look at Kamal with this nice trade based upon that entry. Sweet, right? Steve says, I'm watching SQ. We have SQ, don't we? Oh, no. All right. Sometimes I just run out of room. All right, well, let's put SQ on there. A, B, and B you have, right? GNRC, Snap. Oh, for potential. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, we have Square, right? Guess I should know if I have my own position. All right. I'm watching QQQ and SWKS for crossover entries. And so it looks like I'm going to have to get the emergency chart out over here. SWKS. Yes, it does have a 520 crossover. That is true. 1.35 million shares traded. When I look at the weekly, looks, it's decent. It's not above the 1 ATR channel, so that all looks okay. Oh, man. All right, I'm not used to these charts. All right. Well, let's take a look, everybody. Steve had mentioned 520 crossover on the Qs. This is what I am looking for primarily. I like the index. I'm looking for a 520 crossover. Currently, it's 317.22. The 20 is 317.25. So it is very close to a crossover. If there is a crossover, I will buy this today. Amazon. Well, I was really looking for a higher low close above the 200-day moving average. Kamal, we discussed this on the telephone. Here you have a close below the 200, over the 200, but it comes from a lower low. I much prefer to have a close back over the 200 from a higher low perspective. Earlier it was above the 200. I don't know if it's going to finish there. I don't know if it's going to close there. If it does, I would consider it. But I think right now the Qs are closer, 317.20 to 317.25. So not quite there yet, holding above the 50-day, which is good. MACD went positive. So right now Qs look like the most likely to me. And then of course we have Skyworks, which I can't figure out how to do this chart. Graph style, graph type. Oh man, I have too much data here. Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. Oh, here we go. No, that's not going to do it either. Oh, here we go. That's better. That has a 520. Yep, that has a 520. A little bit of a bearish bar here running into the 1 ATR channel. MACD is not positive yet. We are above the 50, but that does back test well, I'm assuming, if it came from Steve. All right. Berkshire Hathaway, not on my list to buy today, but a good example, Carlos, if you're out there, of a nice return to value. Remember, I like to buy in the value zone. I like to sell above the value zone. People that bought above the value zone here are probably not happy they bought up there. Now we're back into the value zone. Does this mean we buy right away? No, it doesn't. We pull into the value zone. We've gone down. Carlos, we have to stop going down first. Get a couple days of sideways motion, then look for a V1 or a V2 to the upside. But I'll be watching Berkshire Hathaway because it now has finally come into the value. Remember, I want to sell at value, sell above value. I want to buy below value, sell back at value. That's the plan. So I will definitely be watching Berkshire Hathaway in the future here. Match.com has a 520 crossover, although I couldn't tell you for sure whether or not Match.com, the 520 crossover backtest, well, ETF replay site was down today when I went to it, so I couldn't do the backtesting. Dow Jones Industrial. Well, this is interesting. No trade here, but look, we closed above 70 RSI yesterday. Now we're below 70 RSI. We're right at the third ATR channel. 92% of prices fail here. That's a big confluence of an over 70, under 70, and we pegged right at the third ATR channel. Doesn't mean you want to go in and short, that it's going to go crashing down. It doesn't mean that at all, but it could mean that we kind of move sideways, chop around, or go down. That's the most likely case than going up from here, but who knows? I'm just saying, right? Eli Lilly. Well, boy, Eli Lilly, all it has done is gone up, and look at this. Wow. So let's see. At the low of the day, we were about 34.10. Huge bar. Good example right here, everybody. Yesterday's bar looks this big. It is not this big. It is this big. It's closed here. So in reality, this bar looks this big from like of the blue. From this blue down to the blue here, that's a big monster bar. And I don't want to get in front of that. Yeah, it's a V1. Yeah, it's closed back above the negative, or it closed back above the 1 ATR channel, but this is too big of a gap for me to get interested in. Johnson & Johnson has a 520 crossover here. Again, I can't backtest this. I don't know if anybody has the ability to backtest Johnson & Johnson with a 520 crossover. It's in a decent spot. MACD is positive. On the weekly, it's not that overextended. New York Times has a V2, but there's a big gap there, so I don't like that. But again, Carlos, this is a false breakout to the downside and a V2. Here's the low. The washout bar took out the low of the range, and then we have a V2 here as well. Only 53,000 shares traded. I'm going to pass on that. SEDG, Solar Edge Technologies. I don't see anything there. Cinna. Yeah, I don't like this. Not a lot of volume either. Billy, B-I-L-I. I do not see anything on that chart. Verizon, above the value zone, into the value zone. Now we're getting some sideways motion. Here's 1 day sideways. Here's 2 day sideways. V1 or V2 would be okay here, but it doesn't look like it right now. Wix. V1 to the downside. I don't see anything here. FUTU. I do not see anything there either. IONS. Possibly with the close above the 200-day moving average. I think I'm going to pass on that. GoDaddy. Going to pass on that as well. So really, my interest today lies with the Qs having the crossover 317.18 to 317.24. Currently does not have it. Amazon does not look like it's going to do that. So I'm going to turn my attention back over to my current positions. Merck looks pretty strong. It looks like it's going to hold that 50-day moving average. So nothing to do there. Nothing to do there. Be nice to hit a second profit target, but this has been a great trade. QS, I am going to hold that as I discussed. Square, I'm going to hold that as I discussed as well. And then TLT, I'm holding that. So I think the chances of me taking a new trade today are pretty small, actually. I'll put the Qs up over here so I can watch that. Let me do a little math on something real quick. Okay. And that was what? Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Give me 1 second. Okay. $243.16. Steve is watching. Okay, we talked about that. Watching Qs and SWKS for potential 520 crossovers. Gary says, Greg, I am in square with you at 241. Oh, you are. Okay. Okay, Gary. Carlos said, would Etsy be a valid trade with the 520 crossover? Does anyone have the ability to backtest Etsy with 520? It seems to me that it does backtest well. I mean, it is under the 520 crossover is still in place, so I would look at that as a positive indication, even though it is down a little bit today. I mean, if you took it today, you'd have to follow the same rules with your end of day stops. But just like I did the same thing on Facebook, right? I didn't buy it when it triggered. I bought when it came back down and I got a better price. So, yes, in my book, that technically is still valid. It is holding the 50 RSI. It's holding the majority of these moving averages. MACD is green. So, yeah, I mean, it's better than buying when you had the moving average up here at like 220 or 223. It's at 216. So, yeah, in my opinion, and I like, very similar to the Facebook trade that I took here, buying it after the crossover happened at a lower price. Yes, it's in the value zone, which is also good. Steve says, I exited these names due to bearish engulfing candles that didn't reverse much. So Steve is getting out of Square. He is getting out of Airbnb. He's getting out of GNRC. And he's getting out of Snap. Okay, sounds good, Steve. I'll get those all updated at the end there. So I don't think the Qs are going to cross over 317.09 to 317.21. So looks to me like I will just basically be buying the overnight SPY trade. Merck's hanging there, so I don't have to do anything with that. So yeah, I don't think I see anything here that's going to do it today. Well, Q's had that rally, but now is giving it back. So, I sold that last one right about here, so I was a little early on it. Look how it just perfectly rejected the 50-day moving average. I'll tell you that 50 RSI and the 50-day moving average does it holds weight. I'll tell you. 132.23. 136.23. Right. Okay. $283. All right, give me 1 second. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't think I'm buying anything today, folks. I don't think. I may even have to look at Merck here. Is it going to close? No, it's going to hold. Yeah, so I think I'm holding everything on my end, but not adding any new positions. Oh, okay, so Steve's long SWKS on the 520 crossover. Okay, excellent. Well, that looks like it is the finish line of the day. And let's see what happened here. All right, so I did buy SPY today for the overnight SPY trade at 395.91. That's my only entry on the day. Nothing else triggered for me anyway. 395.91. All right. So if any of my students, oh, did Merck lose the 50? No, it didn't. Oh, good. If any of my students have any new entries or exits they'd like me to put up on the board, this is the time to do it. Just real quick before I get to that, I just want to remind everybody that I do teach private one-on-one lessons in the evening time via Skype. I teach a 15-hour course, which I think is a really good course. I teach you all 5 of my trading approaches. I teach you each strategy step by step exactly, so you always know what to do, how much to position size, where your end of day stops are, emergency stops, trailing stops, all that kind of stuff. But I teach you each one, and that's why the course is 15 hours, because we spend 3 hours on each approach, because I really want to make sure that you have it. I think learning one-on-one is the very best way to do it. So if you are interested, all you have to do is send me an email. The email's in the description of the video. You can send me a message on Twitter as well. And if you do reach out to me, I'll reply and say, hey, how's it going? Thanks for saying hi. Let's set up a Skype call. Skype's call's free. It's just a good time for you and I to get to know each other a little bit better. I'd like to ask you some questions about you and your trading, your goals, what you hope to achieve. And then it's a good time for you to ask me questions about the course. any specific questions that you have. And when we're done with the call, obviously you think about it. And if you decide that you want to go ahead and schedule with me, just email me back and we'll get it done. It does cost $1,750, but I think the one-on-one attention that you get for 15 hours and, and me teaching you everything I have learned over the last 25 years, I really think it's worth every penny. So if you've been thinking about it, reach out to me. We'll have that Skype call. Secondly, I do have a new video course, online course up at Udemy, udemy.com. The link is in the description. The course is 9.5 hours, 26 videos. I teach you step by step the deep dip buy stock trading approach, which I use all the time. Just that last trade I had there on Q's earlier when we first started the podcast was a deep dip buy approach trade. One of the best trading approaches in my opinion. So, financially, if you're not able to do the one-on-one course, I think this is the next best thing. It's like $12 or $15 on Udemy. It's the best 12 or 15 bucks you'll ever spend if you watch the course and you internalize it. So the link's in the description. And then lastly, if you like today's podcast, I really would deeply appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up button. It really does help to build the channel, keep the channel around, let YouTube know that there's some good content here or some valuable content, so they'll keep sharing it. So, okay, that's all of my housekeeping business. Let's take a look. Now, I know Steve, let's see. So we go back up. Where's Steve? Okay, so Steve is out of A, B, and B with that bearish reversal. So we'll take that off. He's also out of Snap. Okay. Okay. GNRC. A, B, and B. I think I already got that one, didn't I? Yeah. And Square, out of Square. Okay. So I'll take Steve off of there. Okay, good trade, Steve. Oh, and he's long SWKS. Okay, this one's not updating, but it will tomorrow. And so I have Steve in there at 181.06. 181.06. Steve. Sorry. Steve. 520. Okay. All right. Let's learn how to type, Greg. 520 EMA cross. Okay. Got you in there, Steve. Kamal says no trades. Doesn't surprise me. Gary, no new trades. Thank you, Greg. Carlos is an Etsy. Okay. It still is under the 520 crossover, so that crossover is still valid. The only difference is you got a little discount on the price. I like that MACD's positive. I like that it held to 50 RSI. That all makes sense to me, and you're just getting a little better price. But, make sure you follow your rules when it comes to what the 5 and the 20 does as well. So let me put Carlos up here. $216.16. $216.16. Okay. Done and done. Might get that 520 tomorrow on the Qs if we go back up. So how did this all play out today? So the Dow down 127, NASDAQ up 11.86, but still a big reversal bar, and the S&P was down as well. Carlos says, yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. I will keep an eye on it. Thank you. What about your charts, Carlos? Did you get that worked out after the download? Was that streaming for you? All right, well, I'm waiting for Carlos. Let me go over this real quick. You know, I like to do it every day. If we all do one random act of kindness daily, we just might set the world in the right direction, by Martin Kornfeld. But, you know, I say this every day, but I really mean it, and I really believe it's true. If we were to all go out and just do one nice thing for another human being and one nice thing for an animal, if we all did that for each other, man, would this world be a better place, right? So let it start with you. If you do something nice for a human, they're going to appreciate it. They're going to feel good. It's going to make their day. If you do something nice for an animal, they're going to appreciate it. It's going to make their day, and it should make you feel good. So it's a win-win-win all around. All right, so I always like to mention that just in passing on my way out, and you know, hopefully one or two of you will go out and do that today, and it will make someone's day. Mamal says, if we buy at crossovers, what would be the exit strategies and strategies for taking profits? That's a little bit kind of a long answer, Mamal. I don't know if, I mean, that might take an hour. But essentially, if you buy a crossover, the way that I trade it is I always set my emergency stop. If I buy when the crossover happens, if I get a close below both the two moving averages that I bought, used as the crossover, I sell half. If the moving average crossovers cross under, I sell the other half. I set a trailing stop of 1.5 ATRs for my entry. So when I do the entry on the crossover, if it moves up 1.5 ATRs from my entry, then I go into trailing stop mode with the close below the previous day's low. If it rejects the 70, I get out of half, and then I wait for a close below the previous day's low after the rejection of the 70. So I know that sounds like a lot. You can trade moving average crossovers completely mechanical, meaning that you just simply get in when they cross over, and you ride the bucking bronco all the way until it closes back under, and that's when you get out. And hopefully when it closes back under, it will be above where you entered. So that's a long question. It's hard for me to give you just a real quick answer, but I use those crossovers as entries. And again, my end of day stop is if in the future I get a close below both the two moving averages that I use, I sell half. If the faster moving average closes under the longer moving average, I will get out of the second half. But sorry, usually, that takes me about 3 hours to explain that, Mamal, in my classes. So I just tried to give you a little bit of an overview, but the easy mechanical way is just to get in when you have the 520 crossover, stay in until the 5 crosses back under, or whatever moving averages that you use. Carlos says, yes, works great. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. And as far as taking strategies, I set 3 profit targets. Mamal, you've done the deep dip buy course on Udemy, right? So it's the same strategy where I set 3 limit orders the next day, 0.45 ATR above the current day's close. That's exactly the same. Trailing stops, if I get to 1.5 ATRs and then have a close below the previous day's low, I would get out of half. If I reject the 70 RSI, I would get out of half. And then if I get a close below the previous day's low after rejecting the 70, I would get out of the full position. Carlos says, I'm setting my profit targets and emergency stop. However, how would I add an emergency stop? Well, it depends who your broker is, Carlos. Me personally, I cannot put in an emergency stop in my system and also put partial profits above me. I watch the screen all day, so I just have the emergency stop in as a mental stop, and I have limit orders in the system as hard stop or hard limit orders in the system. But you can't do both. You could, if you have 100 shares, you could do one cancels another order where you have 100 at your emergency stop and you have 100 above you. But you know what I would do, Carlos? If I were you and you're not around your computer, I would just put in your stop loss at the emergency stop level and then manually sell your manually take care of your limit orders. But I'm pretty sure on Robinhood you cannot do both. You can do both if they're the same amount of shares, but not partial shares like I've taught you to the upside. So if you're worried about it, yes, you can add an emergency stop. Just sell however many shares you have, stop market at that price, but you can't sell them both. Carlos says, thank you. Same question. Dan, Cornfield's cartoon characters each have their personality, but are more alike than different. Oh, is this our guy? Oh, see, I don't even know who he is. So he's a cartoonist, I guess. David says, have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thank you, Mr. David. Appreciate you being here. Mamal says, thank you for sharing. That was helpful. Yeah, it sounds similar to deep dip buy strategy. Yeah, yes, for the profits on the way up. Yeah, it's very similar. That's why that deep dip buy strategy is so important, because once you learn that, then you can just add those to my other trading strategies, because emergency stops, position sizing, trailing stops, although there are different rules for different type of approaches, but generally that deep dip buy approach will teach you the majority of what you need to apply my other strategies as well. Can you OCO the emergency stop with the profit targets and then separate limit orders at the emergency stops for the remaining shares? I don't know. Can you OCO the emergency stops with the profit targets and then separate limit orders at the emergency stop and then separate limit orders at the emergency stop for the remaining shares? I don't know. I've tried it with my broker. I just can't do it. I can say sell 100 shares above at a limit price, sell 100 shares below if it gets my stop. That I can do. And most platforms you can do. But if I have 100 shares and I sell 10 shares at this price, 10 shares at that price, 10 shares at that price, but sell 100 down here, it won't let me do that. And I don't know any brokers that have. I've never run across. So I think you kind of have to decide, do I want to put in limit orders in the system and keep my eye on the emergency stop? Or do I want to be safer? Just go ahead, put my emergency stop in the system, and then adjust the emergency stop if your profit targets hit, and then sell out portions of your profit manually. I know if people don't know what I'm talking about, they think I'm crazy, but it sounds complicated. It's really kind of not. It's just that unless you're familiar with it, but it's not that complicated. But the way that I do it, again, I just put limit orders in the system and I keep my eye on the emergency stop. Alternatively, you could just put the emergency stop in the system and then manually get out of the limit orders. Sonny says, Lova, on TD Ameritrade, I have always 4 orders, 3 OCOs with limit of profit targets. Oh, well, there you go. Prove me I was wrong. But on mine, I can't. So, okay, good. 4 orders. 3 OCOs with limit at profit target and stop at emergency stop with the 4th, which is the stop order remaining for remaining shares. I'm sure it depends on broker. Wow, Sonny, that sounds really good. You have a good grasp of all that. That's fantastic. All right, let's see what's happening after hours. Anything exciting? Apple's up. Dow's up 48 cents. Facebook's down. Merck is even. Qs are up 38 cents. That's good. SPY's up 58 cents. That's good. All right, so it looks like we're up a little in after hours. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming today. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope you go out and do something nice for somebody, for an animal and a human. Hope you do something nice for yourself. Maybe you go take a walk, maybe read a book, read some trading books, work on your charting. A lot of different stuff we can do. But I hope you have a good rest of your day, and hope to see you tomorrow during the last hour. And Lubba says, that's what I was trying to say, Sonny. Thank you. That should work with any broker. Good. Excellent, excellent. And thanks, Mamal. You have a great day as well. Thanks for coming, everybody. And hey, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button, I would really, really appreciate that. If you could take a couple seconds and do that before you click on out of here and get on with the rest of your day. But thanks again. Talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye. U.S. government required disclaimer. Stock, options, futures, and forex trading is not appropriate for everyone. While there is a potential for large rewards, there is also a substantial risk of loss associated with trading. The material in this video or live broadcast is not geared towards any particular individual or to any particular financial situation and is not intended to meet the particular investment objectives of any viewer. This video or live broadcast, like all instructional materials produced by Gossett Trading and Mentoring LLC, is created and published for informational and educational purposes only. Any and all information contained in, implied, or referenced by this video or live broadcast is not to be construed as investment advice, and no representation is made that any individual or entity involved in production of this video or live broadcast is an investment or financial advisor or is registered or authorized to give any financial advice. We are publishers and educators only. Therefore, the various producers of this video or live broadcast will not accept liability for any loss or damage of any kind which may arise either directly or indirectly out of the use of any of this material, including any loss of profit. No representation is made that any account or investment will or is likely to achieve the profit or losses demonstrated. We recommend consultation with a licensed and qualified professional before making any investment decision. This video or live broadcast is not to be construed as an offer to buy or sell any security, financial instrument, or financial product of any kind. Notice is hereby given that any individual or entity involved in production of this video or live broadcast or their clients may have an interest in any security, financial instrument, or financial product mentioned or referenced. Any simulated or hypothetical performance result depicted does not represent actual trading and therefore may under or overcompensate for the impact of various market factors such as lack of liquidity. Thank you.